the Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast. Today, I am lucky enough to have with me Michael Farrell. Michael, why don't you give me a 60-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you write?
Hello. Yes, I am Michael Farrell. Firstly, I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity. And I guess if I were to do a 60-second elevator pitch of myself, basically I'm 18 years old and I write mostly fiction, mostly fantasy. Every now and then I have like these daydreams that pop into my head, and I just found myself choosing creative writing as a career that I really want to pursue.
That is fantastic. It's so nice when we have young, enthusiastic writers that are on the horizon. And it gives the opportunity for the world to understand what's going on with the minds of our younger writers. So tell me, what type of characters do you like to bring to life?
Well, I would say that the characters I'd like to bring to life, they mostly come from, because every writer puts a little piece of themselves into all the characters. So I think the characters that I bring to life are normally like from my experience with either my personal experiences or experiences with other people, like things they go through, ways they deal with certain situations. And I take that, it's like, oh, this is interesting. I can use this for this and that, and basically incorporate that into stories.
That's really good. Now, I know that you like Taekwondo. Does Taekwondo make an appearance in your writing?
Well, in a way, yes, because I like action just in general, like action movies and action video games. And I find myself like writing fight scenes, and it's been pretty fun trying to learn how to make that work, because, with the writing, there's pacing in a fight scene, and then you have to transition that to words. And it's been a pretty interesting new way to look at something I've been doing for about a decade now.
You bring those fight scenes to life with your background in Taekwondo. And how do you keep the pages turning?
Well, the way that I keep the pages turning is that I try to at least just keep on adding, I guess I would say, pertinent things to the plot, because I like stories that like you go through it once and it's enjoyable, and then you go through them again and you can see all the connections. There's connections in life, there's connections in stories, there's connections everywhere you look. What I like to think is, all right, well, if something's going to happen on later, I either want to foreshadow it or set it up. Just if someone get someone hooked, and then if they ever go back to it or they keep reading, they can see that even back here in the very beginning, it's kind of foreshadowed towards the end. Like there's no wasted words, basically.
That is a gift. Any writer that can keep the words all connected throughout, like weaving that little thread, you put that little hook in the very beginning, and then you just kind of gently weave it in and out of the fabric of your context. That is a fantastic skill to have. And I am inspired by the fact that you, as an 18-year-old, know how to do this. That is fantastic. Now, I also know another secret about you, which is you are now on the board of directors of the Florida Writers Association. Tell me a little bit about what you do for them.
Well, basically, I am, I guess, the youthful perspective that, the board can go to. I'm currently trying to work with other members of the board to give more of a youthful appeal to certain programs that they have, like how we can incorporate social media and certain programs and sweepstakes, just basically getting youth writers interested, and because I believe that everyone's got a story to tell, and they have their unique way of telling it, and there's no other person who can replicate that perfectly. So I think even young writers should have that chance and the opportunity, and I really like that the Florida Youth Writers Association is giving people an opportunity to do that.
What would draw people in today in the social media market?
Well, I personally think that in terms of the writing world, showing, because we all write for a specific reason, right? We write to escape or to create a world, and really it's tips on how to do that. Like I see a lot of writing tips on Instagram. I see a lot of people discussing their favorite book series and stuff like that. And I think really focusing on what the pages mean and the meaning of the stories and stuff will really draw people in, because the words are meant to convey all these emotions and feelings, and I think that's the real meat of the stories.
Instagram is, I talk about this all the time, but Instagram is one of those platforms I am just woefully uninformed about. And so how would you put down book covers? Would you put down quotes? Would you put down pictures of, when I say put down, I guess it would be, would you show images of the author? How would you best do an Instagram post?
I'm not so sure about pictures of the author and such. Really the thing I see most frequently are text posts, ironically enough, with Instagram being mostly about pictures. But like text posts of discussions or memes about writing or writing tips or just discussions are really what I see more often, strangely enough. But I do every now and then, a couple people I follow, like they will occasionally post like the covers of their book or something pertaining to a book that they're working on.
So what are you working on right now?
Well, right now I have 2 works in progress. One is a fantasy young adult book with a medieval European setting. And then I have another that is another fantasy in an ancient Mediterranean setting.
You find it complicated to switch back and forth between 2 separate works in progress?
To be perfectly honest, the medieval Europe one is on hold right now, just because the one that has to do with the ancient Mediterranean is still fresh in my mind. Like really, just as I go about my day, sometimes I'll just stop and I'll daydream, or I'll think about a certain situation and just work it into the book that's on my mind. Sometimes the one that I'm not currently working on pops in, but usually I have one that I prioritize.
And who's your ideal audience?
Well, my ideal audience would be probably people my age, mostly because I think, with people my age, I can relate to them more. They can relate to the themes in my stories more. I guess there's a strong connection there that I would want to use to the fullest.
And how do you prepare for your writing?
Well, to prepare for writing, I just hunker down on my couch and I have my laptop on a pillow on my lap. And sometimes I'll open up the document and I'll take a look at it, see where I left off. And if I need help for a scene, I'll usually play music, just like go onto YouTube, find some kind of, either find a scene or find a piece of music whose emotion matches what emotion I want to convey. And it kind of sets the mood for me so that I can better convey it.
That's great to have inspiration like that. It's a simple way to tap into, become inspired, because we do get hooked on whatever's around us. And then that's what tends to come out in our writing.
I totally agree.
Where do you see your writing going?
Well, I'm hoping that one day one of my works could make into a movie. I kind of have this one idea that I think would really be cool to see as an animated movie, just because I grew up watching cartoons and I love animated movies myself.
Well, the anime movies, that's a very trendy idea. It's probably going to be here to stay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite anime movie or anime character, story, series?
Not really a favorite, mostly because, to be perfectly honest, I haven't been watching like anime and animated stuff that much. But I'd say any animated movie, like anything made by Pixar, is something that I really like and I like to pick apart.
Yeah, Pixar has so many great movies, and their little shorts are some of my favorite things. So, Michael, are you still in school or are you graduating this year?
I graduated from high school last year in August, and I'm currently taking a gap year just because I'm trying to fully figure out, what I want to do. And this writing, so far, a writing career has been very promising for me. And I just want to, kind of get that started and get that rolling before I start jumping into college or university.
Well, I certainly wish you a lot of luck. You sound like you have a wealth of knowledge, much more than the average person, about the actual act of writing. It is not necessarily for the faint of heart, although everyone thinks they can do it. And while everyone has a story, not everyone can weave one together successfully. So I want to congratulate you on how far you've already come.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I have become very close to the struggles of writing. I've learned just what it takes and then the commitment that it is.
What would be your biggest advice to somebody?
Oh, well, my biggest advice would be to sit down and just write, basically. Don't put it down and don't leave it for too long, because if you leave it for too long, eventually the time that you've left it is going to just keep increasing and increasing. If you open it up, think about it, try to write anything at all, then you can always go back to it, work on it. It's a continual work in progress, and if you're not working on it, then the book becomes stagnant. And if you really want to get the book out there, then you really want to work on it, because it takes a lot of writing out just whatever, revising it. Like, the first draft is really just putting all the ideas, no matter what they are, on paper, and then trying to connect the dots.
It's the giant game of connect the dots. It's like what we played when we were 3, and now we're doing it as real life authors.
Mm-hmm.
So Michael, how are people going to get in touch with you?
Well, currently I have just a Instagram account. It's Mike_Scrivo, and it's Scrivo because I'm Italian, and Scrivo is Italian for write.
Perfect. Are you ready to switch to our rapid fire questions?
Yes, I am.
Michael, do you like to climb trees?
I don't, actually. Like, I don't find a lot of, I don't know. I've done it a couple times, and every time I've always bumped my knee into a limb or something. It's once you're up there, it's very it is nice because you see a whole totally different view. But
climbing up there can be challenging. Do you like sunsets or sunrises?
I would say sunsets because I'm more likely to see those. I'm the kind of person who sleeps in and not a morning person at all. And do you have a favorite t-shirt? I do. I have this one blue button shirt it's a dark blue with all kinds of Hawaiian designs on it, and I've had it for a long time, and I just always liked it, mostly because I love the color blue, and just I don't know, I've been living in Florida all my life, and the tropical feel is something I'm very accustomed to. Well, blue happens to be my favorite color as well, so we share that in common. Michael Farrell, this has been an exciting time to have you on our podcast. All right, thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here, because I've heard many of your podcasts in the past, and I always learned something, or they made me think about writing in a nice, creative way. So I enjoyed having this opportunity. Thank you. Well, again, we're glad you're here. You all have been listening to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Allison Nissen. Allison out.
Michael Farrell was drawn into the world of writing by his childhood dreams and the stories in his head that he wishes to bring to life. He loves psychology, fantasy worlds, and stories about the wonders of life. He's a black belt in Taekwondo and has practiced the art for 10 years. He also has background in tumbling. Currently, he has 2 works in progress, that he hopes to publish in the near future. Michael is also a member of the Florida Writer Board of Directors. For more information about Michael, visit him on Instagram at Mike_Scrivo. For more information about the Florida Writers Association, visit us on the web at floridawriters.net.